Welcome, everybody. I think this started. It's Monday, April 29th. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report. Hey, guys, let me pull up chat. Make sure you're actually there. It's been a while. I'm back. Hang on. View. Docs. Here we go. Oh, not chat. Here we go. There we go. Okay, I'll see you guys when you pop in. La, 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 la. Always like to get you guys set up first, then go live on TikTok. Oh. 1 second, guys. Still waiting to see your chat, so I know you're live. There you are. There you are. Yay! We're here. Yay! I'm back. Thank you, JD. I'm back. Oh my God. Ah. All right. Let me. Let me look at the camera. Make sure that's all done. Camera automatic. That's good. All right. Woo woo. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mad Mike. Let me get TikTok rolling here since they're waiting as well. There we go. Oh, I'm still exhausted, but I'm back. I got back Friday night, but I'm just very tired still. All right, TikTok's rolling in. Mirror my video. All right, I almost forgot how to get this all set up again. Oh, thank you, Franny. Thank you, guys. Oh my God. Hey, Ash, you're first, of course. Anyway, I'll get this. Tilt this a little bit. There we go. Oh my God, so tired. Hey, Callum. Oh, everyone's here today. Oh my gosh. Vacation was very nice, very exhausting. Rested. I'm exhausted. I think vacations, I don't know. I think vacations where you're literally on the beach are restful, but not when you're running around for 2 weeks and in a place that's hotter than hell. Although the light is a little bit too strong here today, but there's not much I can do about it. At least on my end, I'm seeing the light being washed out, but what do you do? It's always funny here. Anyway, thank you. Oh, gifts are pouring already. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jen, for the gifts. Elizabeth, thank you, guys. Anyway, yes, I am back. Welcome, everybody. It's fine? Okay, good. Thanks, Esty. Thank you, Chazak. Thank you, Jen. And thank you, Best Worst. Appreciate you saying that. Shelly, Kevin, lots of gifts coming in on TikTok. Yay! Oh, boy. Hey, Derek. Thank you, guys. I do need a vacation for my vacation. Honest to God. Thank you. Who was that? Oh, was that aviation? It was aviation. Thank you. I am back in... Thanks, Exceed. I am Ava as well. I am back in D.C. in a week and a half, May 8th. So, it was very nice. I mean, exhausting. But thank you, Martin. Who was that? Martin. Thank you, Martin. Yep. Oh, thank you, Nick. I was in Asia for 2 weeks. My nephew was getting married. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Nick. My nephew was getting married in Bali to a woman from Singapore. They had met in Bali, so they wanted to hold the ceremony there. Traditional Balinese wedding. It was very cool. Organized by this local woman who's amazing. But it's just so hot. I was in Singapore for 3 days at the beginning, 2 days at the end. Singapore's very hot. Bali's very hot. It's basically 89, 90 degrees every day. Horrific humidity. Thank you, Nick. Crazy humidity. And you've got air conditioning in your bedrooms. So any of the houses we rented or whatever, there's no air conditioning except the bedrooms. Thank you, Holly. And you just, all day. I'm not complaining, but thank you, Holly. Thank you, Nick. It's just very hard when you're all day, you're in the heat. It's just, I'm still exhausted. I really am. I feel like I compare it to a video game where my power is not charged to 90%. My power is charged to 75%. Thank you, Marie. I'm at 75% still. I'm just really tired. It's like I gave blood or something, but it was great. Singapore is a fascinating country. Oh my God. Just a fascinating country. Not a democracy. Let's make that clear about Singapore. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Slip, as well. Not a democracy, but an amazing country. We are talking about Ukraine today. Oh yeah, I've got 4 pages of notes to talk about Ukraine. We are talking about Ukraine, but folks were asking about the trip, so I'm starting about my Asia trip. But and Indonesia's great. The Indonesians are the nicest people. Absolutely nicest people. The flight was hideously long. My flight going there was 22 hours, including a 2-hour layover. Thank you, Slip. Thank you, Nick. A 2-hour layover. The airport lived up to the hype. The airport in Singapore does. It's insane. Yeah, the airport in Singapore is crazy. They've got a butterfly room. I saw it on a sign, like a butterfly room. Get out of here. I go, it's a big butterfly room for, passengers to just hang out in. The airport's gorgeous, beautiful shop, but I mean, beautiful shopping. I did miss my dog. She's with me now. But the across the street from the airport, they built this beautiful shopping mall sort of for the airport. Thank you, Slip. Thank you, Jonathan. In Singapore. And it's just, I mean, there's a rainforest in the middle of the shopping mall for the airport. There is a huge waterfall in the middle of the rainforest in the middle of the shopping mall at the airport. It is ridiculously cool and advanced, and everything about it looks like it's out of a sci-fi movie. Really amazing. Thank you. Who's Pizdolis? Okay, or Pizdolis. Thank you for the hearts. Really amazing. Yeah, Sasha was cute. My dog was asleep in the bedroom upstairs. I came in. She was still asleep. And then all of a sudden she kind of heard me. She looked up. She kind of perked a little. The tail went, but she was still, literally, you could tell, like, just woken up from a deep sleep. Thank you, T-Bone. Then she crawled out and then was like, like, I have to lick you. It was very cute. Very tired. I have nothing out of my nose other than the fact that you're going to be banned. Our first try. I don't know. Oh, my. Get rid of that Daniel guy. My donkey. My burro is upstairs. My burrow is upstairs. Daniel's just jealous because I'm hot. My burrow is upstairs. I've got to get him. We could have already done the first, burrow of the return. Oh well. Anyway, guys. All right. So welcome, guys. I am going to. We are going to do the Ukraine update, and then afterwards we can talk more about my trip if you want, sort of during the Q&A. Just a reminder, just a reminder as always, I love the gifts. You guys know that. The gifts help support my work by doing this, because I do this full time. I've been doing it since the invasion 2 years ago. Thank you, Running. So your guys' gifts literally pay my bills, so please keep them coming. On YouTube, remember a lot of the gifts. Thank you, Magical. Thank you, Running. A lot of the gifts on YouTube, you guys were giving gifts for other people. A lot of those have expired. So anybody who wants to start giving some more memberships on YouTube, feel free. I think maybe we might have even had 50 that dropped off, I think, when I was gone. Thank you, Timothy. So some of those would be great. Remember, by buying gift memberships on TikTok or YouTube, you get to access our weekend shows. Every Saturday I do a show, almost every Saturday. I do a show, and the monthly membership gives you access to that. So also gives you lots of little emojis and lots of fun stuff too. So please do, if you can, jump in and do that. All right, guys, let's get rolling here, okay? I've got the news from Ukraine, sip of water, and we will get rolling. So today is day 796 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. Hey, Chris, thank you. Appreciate that over on YouTube. And thank you, user 3367. And thank you, Jens, for gifting membership to Paula. Appreciate that, Jens. So, yeah, let's get rolling here. The U.S. aid bill. So, actually, the thing to start talking about first is, while I was gone in Indonesia, thank you, Adventures, the U.S. finally passed the Ukrainian aid bill. It was around $61 billion for Ukraine. Big deal. Very important. Oh, thank you, Coach Brandy. A lot of number of you subscribed. Oh, look at you guys on TikTok. Thank you, guys. Karanon subscribed. Hedge subscribed. Gaius Maximus. Who else do we got here? Karanon, Rob, Coach Brandy. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Is George Soros funding the protests in the universities? I don't know. I mean, it is possible he's funding one of the groups that's organizing it. But, the George Soros thing, I'm not a big fan of attacking George Soros. He does a lot of good work, actually. I don't want to get off on the university protests, but he actually does a heck of a lot of good work in Eastern Europe, especially promoting democracy. He's done amazing work, so I'd rather not sort of get into that whole thing. But anyway, guys, all right. So first big issue to talk about, I think, is the U.S. aid bill. As I said, $61 billion. Approved by U.S. Congress. Biden signed it last Wednesday, immediately got rolling. The U.S. has already proposed about $1 billion in additional aid that's going to be coming soon. Oop, all right. My dog's coughing here underneath me. But $1 billion in aid that's going to be coming from the U.S. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Slip, and thank you, William, for the gifts. And Running for the gifts on TikTok. Oh, and Susan gifted something that went to NE. Lovely, or Northeast, maybe. On YouTube, thank you guys for the gifts. What's my take on the U.S. aid bill? I mean, obviously, I'm glad, right? I mean, we're all glad. Oh, Phoenix. Sorry, Dark Phoenix just did a very cool TikTok gift. The dragon baby. Thank you. Yeah, Alex. I've met Alex once years ago. It's funny. I met Alex Soros, who's the son of George. He's friends with my friend Lawrence, and we met on the streets in D.C., but this is like 30 years ago, and had no clue who he was. He's like, oh, this is my friend Alex Soros, or Alexander, or whatever, Soros. And I was like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And I was like, oh, Soros, is that Greek? He said, nope, Hungarian. I said, oh, sounds Greek. I said, we always have to look for the Greeks. Thank you, Big Hawk. But it was very funny, my run-in with the Soroses. And, of course, I thought they were Greek. So the legislation, and what does it mean? As I said, it's good that the money's going. That's going to help Ukraine, obviously, but I'm not thrilled about any of this right now at this point. We screwed Ukraine. It's too late. I mean, I think it really is too late at this point. I don't know what else we do, because we've got to stop them from getting overrun by the Russians, because we should care about them, but also it's in our self-interest. The Russians run over Ukraine, and they're going to be running over the rest of us at some point. But we screwed them, guys. I mean, we didn't give them enough weapons on early enough. Thank you, Gilbert. And actually, let me say something real quick, too. Another bit of news was we found out that the Biden administration did, in fact, provide ATACMS missiles, long-range missiles, to Ukraine in February. And this is something Ukraine's been wanting forever. It's something defense experts have been saying that we should be giving Ukraine forever. And so, yes, that's a good thing that we provided the missiles, but it's too late. I mean, I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer here, but, the patient had cancer. The patient had 1 year to beat the cancer. We didn't give him the medicine. We said, you know what? We're a little afraid of the cancer. We don't want to give you all the medicine you need. We're going to give you some of the medicine you need, but not enough to beat the cancer. And now that it's 2.5 years later, mind you, there was a 1 year window to beat the cancer. 2.5 years later, we're going, now we think we might start giving you some of those treatments you need to beat the cancer. And you're the cancer patient. You're going, well, thank you. I'm not going to say no, thank you, but I only had 1 year to beat the cancer. It's too late. Right? Cancer has taken hold. Putin's taken hold. He's dug in. We waited too long. No, I mean, so I just don't know. I don't know what to say about this. I want to be positive, but we screwed the pooch on this one. Biden screwed up. The French and Germans screwed up. It's all because of the three of them. I mean, Biden, the French, and the Germans. I mean, forget the Hungarians. They were bad, of course. Any case. But Biden, the French, and the Germans were too afraid of Putin. And they pulled punches from the beginning. They didn't want to give Ukraine the weapons it needed. The Poles wanted to give Ukrainians planes at the very beginning. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that on YouTube. Right? Poles wanted to give weapons, wanted to give planes. Biden and the Germans went, it'll anger Putin. Biden didn't want to send Patriot missiles for a year. He didn't send Patriot missiles for a year. While the Ukrainians were getting bombed and killed by the Russians, we didn't send Patriot missiles. HIMARS. We waited I forget how many months, 6 months, to even send HIMARS to Ukraine. Thank you, Christopher. And then when we sent the HIMARS system, we sent one. And then a couple weeks later, we sent another. And then next month, we sent, I think, 2 more. And it was this slow. We don't want to anger Putin. Slow. Patriot missiles, we didn't send them for a year. Well, 9 months. We waited 9 months to send the Patriot missiles. Tanks, we waited a year to even agree to send tanks. And by the way, the Germans had to the Germans didn't want to do it either. But the Germans then agreed and we refused. And the Germans had to browbeat us to give tanks. And we gave 31. Ooh, 31. Gee, thanks. Right? And it took months to get there. And it took the Europeans months for the tanks to get there. Thank you, Michael. Gifting the membership. Kirk picks it up. Thank you for that. On YouTube. I don't know what to say anymore, guys. We screwed them. I'm not tired of having to explain it. Thank you, Courtney. But I find I explain this, and then I always get the Biden supporters that get upset and say, no, he's done really good work. Biden did great work compared to Trump. Yeah. Right. Thank you, Germany, because Trump basically was siding with Putin on Crimea and probably would on the rest of this too. But Biden screwed up. Biden ensured that Russia is able to hold on to Ukraine, and Ukraine can't win the war because he was afraid. Thank you, Alan. I mean, I am happy they got the money, but, what are you supposed to do? Like I said, it's a cancer patient. The cancer patient had 1 year to beat the cancer. We decided to wait for 2.5 years to get them the drugs they needed. It is difficult for me to sit here and thank somebody for getting drugs to a cancer patient a year and a half after the patient's going to die because they waited too long. What am I supposed to do? Right? I mean, what am I supposed to, thank Biden for screwing up? No, this is very bad. I mean, let's see what happens, guys. I'm glad they got the money. It's going to hold off, but, it's not about MAGA. It's not about MAGA, Cerveza. No, because the MAGA's wrong. The MAGA people cut off aid to Ukraine for the last 6 months, but the MAGA people didn't cause Biden to stop giving HIMARS at the beginning, to only give a few HIMARS a month. The MAGA people didn't force Biden not to give Patriot missiles for a year. The MAGA people didn't force Biden not to even agree to send tanks for a year. The MAGA people didn't force Biden not to even agree to send planes for a year, and frankly, it's taken 2.5 years now to send them. Bull. That's not the MAGA people. That's Biden. The MAGA people didn't force Biden not to give ATACMS missiles. That's all Biden. No, I'm sorry, but the MAGA people. I'm not going to defend MAGA. MAGA doesn't want to give a dime to Ukraine. But again, I am not going to thank a Democrat who screws up and basically throws Ukraine to the Russians because he's too afraid of Putin, just because the Republicans would be worse. Yes. Let's say it outright. The Republicans would be worse. They were worse. They cut off the money. But I'm going to thank a Democrat who's still screwed up and Ukraine now has Russia occupying it? What happens now? I don't know, guys. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know what Ukraine's supposed to do. I mean, again, I think we have to hold people accountable because otherwise they're going to screw up next time. Oh, you're leaving us, JP. Yeah, mods, just get rid of JP on TikTok. Don't go trolling. My first day back, don't go trolling me. We will not culturally appropriate my broadcast for other issues today. Yeah, I mean, now the problem is if you don't give Ukraine aid, there's going to be even more death because the Ukrainians are going to get slaughtered. The Russians are going to take over. The Russians have said they're going to wipe out Ukraine entirely. So that's even worse. That's even worse. But anyway. All right, so yes, I'm not very happy about this, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to forgive Biden for this. He screwed up. And again, part of the problem is you have to hold him accountable for this because, by the way, he's still afraid. He's still afraid of Putin. I mean, any help we give Ukraine is still going to be constrained by Biden's fear of escalation and Biden's fear of Putin. So if we don't hold Biden accountable for this publicly, and I don't criticize him, then the next time we help Ukraine, he's still going to pull punches because he's still going to worry about angering Putin. So, anyway, it's very upsetting. So speaking of, and part of the reason I'm not very happy about this is Ukraine's not doing well, guys. On a number of fronts in the East, the Ukrainians aren't doing well. Especially because of the last 6 months, and that is because of the MAGA people, because they cut off all aid to Ukraine the last 6 months from the Americans. But the Russians are doing better in the East. Now, let me read you a little bit. This is from Sean Bell of Sky News, who's one of their military analysts. And he says, the evidence suggests that Russia is massing its forces for a major summer offensive in the Donetsk region. I don't have my map is upstairs, but the Donetsk region is in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine is on the back foot as it awaits a massive arrival of military aid as part of the U.S.'s new aid package. He says Ukraine has run desperately short of weapons on the front line during the winter. Again, that's in large part because of the U.S. Thank you, Courtney. And with the ground hardening as spring arrives, Russia is now mounting multiple attacks while taking advantage of Ukraine's weapon shortage. It's going to be a very difficult summer for Ukraine. Not good. Well, here's the problem, Carla. I mean, you say not voting for Biden anymore. I got news for you. Guess what the other guy's going to do? Okay? The other guy supports Russia in this war. The other guy has said, he came right out and said, I saw the interview on CNN, that he's fine with Putin invading and taking Crimea, that he thought Crimea belonged to Russia anyway, and the people wanted to be Russian, he claimed, falsely. A report came out just a month ago that that Trump wants Ukraine just to give up land to Russia. That is a total cave. That is Vladimir Putin winning the war. So that's not, I'm pissed at Biden, but the idea that the alternative is better, got news for you. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., guess who else supports Putin's messaging on Ukraine? RFK Jr. So if you care about Ukraine, you will not vote against Biden. No, you won't. Thank you, Bryce. This is the problem, like this, frankly, the Palestinian issue, too. I mean, they're all upset at Biden. Got news for you. Guess who's worse on Gaza than Joe Biden? Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the guy who declared America's embassy to move to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, right? Donald Trump is so much worse than Biden on these issues if you care about Palestinians. So if you care about climate, if you care about civil rights, if you care about women, if you care about abortion. Again, if you're a right-winger, that's a different question. If you're a right-winger, I don't think you should support Trump because I believe in democracy and Trump tried to violently overthrow our government. But nonetheless, if you're a right-winger, then maybe you shouldn't like Biden, right? On all the other issues. But if you're a left-winger, dude, literally every issue, Biden is better than Trump on every issue, and unless you literally don't care. Thank you, Lori. Exactly. If you don't care about the issues, then sure, go for it. Hey, Frank, I am back. The planes, no news on the planes. There's a little news on the planes, actually. I had a little bit of news. Let me see here. I've got something a little later on today. I was going to mention here. Let me see about the airplanes. And if I didn't copy it down, I remember the details. I did not copy it down. Basically, the Ukrainians announced plans to do a number of things to basically make the US F-16s safe, to make it harder for the Russians to hit them. They're building like bunkers all over the country, but they're building them, or whatever they're called, not bunkers, but whatever they're called for the planes. I forget what you call the shelters. They're building enough of them to sort of confound the Russians and confuse them. They're building like decoys and stuff too. So they've got a whole plan that they announced to basically ensure that the Russians won't be able to sort of find the planes and hit them. But otherwise, hangars, thank you. Well, they're hangars, but they're, the hangars that are like bunker hangars, though. I forget what they're called. Those like hardened, are they just hangars? I remember for F-16s, right? For those hardened shelters the planes fly into, so you also can't see whether there is or not a plane inside. But they're also very hard to hit with sort of the berms on the side. You know what I mean? Anyway, forgetting what it is. Anyway, mods, have some fun with the trolls on TikTok. You know what to do. What else we got here? I see a question from Made in Texas. Thank you for the super chat question. Appreciate it. Like in Top Gun, maybe. I did see Top Gun, but I'm forgetting. I just know from my past work on arms control and everything else, there's these sort of cement hangars that the planes go in, and it protects them unless you really hit straight on. There's also sort of a berm on the side, which makes it hard. If there's an explosion nearby, it'll protect the plane unless you literally get inside that area. So there's lots of ways of making it much harder for you to hit a plane, basically. Made in Texas asks, some say Europe must ultimately provide what's needed. Do you see that ever happening? If you mean to Ukraine, the problem is it's not clear Europe can. America was providing, I'm forgetting now how much of the military aid America was providing. I believe it was 2-1 American to European. They just can't do that. It might have been 1-1, but I thought it was 2-1. They can't just double the amount revetments. That's sort of the problem. It's not clear that they can physically provide that much more than they're providing. They can provide more, but twice as much. Thank you, Jay Ticker. Thank you, Bureausaurus. I always love your name. It's just not clear. Thank you, Teresa. The Europeans need to develop their capacities more and their defenses more, which also, was it in the UK? I'm trying to think that, a former top military guy said today, that they've got to build up their armaments more, but the Europe has to do more, like the French. The French have done nothing. The French really have. The French have done a few key things that mattered, like providing the Scalp cruise missiles, which were very important, but otherwise the French have done nothing. In the grand scheme, the French have provided maybe a couple $1 billion in weapons. The Germans have provided like 19 billion. The French, a couple. The French are on the bottom of the list, at least of the big European countries. It's kind of even of the small European countries have done better than the French. It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. And Macron does. He talks a good talk, the French president, about kind of being, France being the big, military leader in Europe now and this kind of stuff. Well, then put up or shut up, basically. Then France needs to put up more aid to Ukraine if they're gonna really do that kind of thing. Estonia probably has done more. Yeah, Gunnerman. Poland's done more. Yeah, it's bad. It's not good. So, yeah, so that's the problem. I mean, certain European countries, I think, need to step up more. And at the same time, Europe, it's not clear Europe can fill the gap. And there's certain weapon systems, too, that they need, right? Like the artillery systems, they need the artillery shells, I should say. They're kind of figuring out, I mean, the Czech government went around and basically found like 1.5 million shells around the world that they could buy. They still don't have enough money for it from the European governments, which is pretty bad, because they should have ponied up the money. In the end, maybe the U.S. will provide some of it too. We'll see. But it's really bad. It's really bad. I don't think it's that great through the EU either. I saw the EU numbers, Morty, and I don't think the French money was that great through the EU. We've got to look again, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm happy to look at it, but a lot of European money I know has gone through the EU. But, hey, Nicholas, thank you. More than UK? I don't know about that. I doubt that, actually. Well, first of all, it depends on the EU thing. The EU thing, I'd be curious because the EU thing does get confusing because the Europeans contribute through the EU, and also individually, right? So that does matter. The Brits have contributed a lot. The Brits have contributed quite a lot. That's what, like Callum said, not even close to the UK. That'd be my guess. Thank you, Monica, for the heart. I think it's very unlikely that anybody has contributed close to the UK because the UK is at the top of the list, really. Or they're close. They're close to the top. The Germans are sort of number 2 after the US, I believe. But the UK is still up there. Go pull up the list. France is not great. Anyway, guys, they put DS9 back on Netflix. Woo-woo! Glad you're happy, Andy. Makes you happy. All right, guys. Let's keep going here. So some good. If I were in charge of Ukrainian army, what would I do right now? I mean, Cliff, the problem is, first of all, thank you for that. The problem is, as you know, right, like I'm not a military guy, so I don't know military strategy, right? I can just sort of synthesize what I'm hearing from people. Thank you, Tom. I don't know what the Ukrainian military should be doing right now. I really don't. A lot of people think the Ukrainian military should have been having a, conscription early on, that they really should have a big draft. But the problem is, Ukrainians, that seems to be controversial in Ukraine, which Vlad tried to explain to me, but I still don't quite get it. You know what I mean? Like countries being overrun, you got to have a draft. I mean, I just don't know how you get around that. You know what I mean? But militarily, I don't know what they should be doing in terms of what battle where. I don't know. I mean, I think, from what I've heard from people, from the military people, is that they still feel like a lot of the Ukrainians fight like Russians. That basically a lot of the new training we've taught them, they haven't really used very well. That they're still fighting like Russians, which is not a good thing, But I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. What else we got, guys? Oh yeah, so a new estimate. This was interesting. I mean, some good news, so to speak. Good news for Ukraine, bad news for Russia. Estimates by the UK's Minister for the Armed Forces says today that 450,000 Russian military personnel have been killed or wounded in Ukraine. Now, the word the military uses is casualties, but remember, when the military uses the word casualties, they mean killed and wounded both. It's not just killed. To the rest of us, casualty sounds like killed, but it's killed or wounded. 450,000 is a lot. It is way more than where it was before. The previous estimate was around 350,000, so that's a big deal. And in addition to those killed, tens of thousands have deserted the Russian military forces in Ukraine. He gave some details on the number of weapons and things destroyed. He says over 10,000 Russian armored vehicles were destroyed, 3,000 main battle tanks, 109 fixed-wing aircraft, 136 helos, 346 unmanned aerial vehicles, 1,500 artillery systems. So all of that's very good. Hey, Steve Simpson. Hi to you too. The interesting sign from Russia. So the Russians have this sort of parade they do every year, sort of commemorating World War II, called the Immortal Regiment March. And they walk around and they hold pictures of their war dead from World War II, World War I as well, of their war dead, probably Afghanistan too. and it's a way that they commemorate and honor their military dead, right? Oh, hey Matt, thank you. Watching old episodes, you're like, I know this. I've seen this one before. Thanks, Matt. Well, what's interesting is Russia. This is a big deal for them because Russia, the whole mythos of World War II is a big deal for the Russians. Thank you, Macabre. And they canceled the parade again. And the thinking is that they claim, security reasons. Yeah, it's security reasons, all right. The thinking is that the Russians are afraid that people are going to hold pictures of their dead loved ones from Ukraine. That basically the Russian troops that were killed in Ukraine, which, could number as high as 200,000. I mean, it could be a huge number from what the estimates are. It's at least 60 to 100,000. That's a lot of people. And Putin doesn't want people walking around holding these images of 100,000 dead from Ukraine, like politically the statement that sends. So yes, Putin is afraid of security at that march, but it's not somebody attacking the march. He's actually afraid of, I think, the security of what that march could do to basically, bubble up domestic dissent against him. Kind of crazy. But yes, May 9th, Digdin, like Ogden, says May 9th is primarily a World War II victory parade. It is, but the concern is that people will start holding pictures of their dead from Ukraine. So, yeah. In any case, what else we got? Do keep the gifts coming, guys. Forgot to do a pitch for that. I've got to get I almost got the auctions rolling, but it's a little bit hard doing it long distance. I've got photos and I'm kind of going through 50 photos trying to pick the auction items, but I will get new auction items up on Discord in the next day. I just started organizing them right now. But please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube, at least for right now. That is the mainstay of how we support my work. On TikTok, guys, please do subscribe. I had raised the fares a little bit on TikTok like a month and a half ago, which might have been a stupid idea because TikTok takes most of the money anyway. And it required you to accept the fare increase, and a number of you didn't, which I understand, because also you sort of forget that you subscribed or whatever. But nonetheless, please do consider subscribing. Remember, you can give gift certificates or gift memberships on TikTok and Ukraine. Oh, thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. You can give gift memberships on TikTok and Ukraine. On TikTok and YouTube. I'm calling YouTube Ukraine. I'm a little tired, guys, from my trip. But do keep them coming. Please keep them coming. All right. Thank you, Devin, for the gift. What else we got here? NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is visiting Kyiv for a meeting with Zelensky. In a joint news conference, Stoltenberg said NATO's allies had not delivered on their military aid pledges to Ukraine in recent months and that there are serious delays, which Zelensky's been talking about too. Now, I will say a good point that Max just brought up on TikTok. Because of the concerns as part of the Ukraine aid bill, the U.S. Congress did pass the TikTok ban. Now, it's not quite a ban, but it will be a ban if, in fact, TikTok doesn't sell itself. If TikTok isn't sold to somebody not the Chinese government, the American government's going to ban TikTok from the various app stores on your phones, making it impossible to use. Not impossible. You could try to do it on the web, but, I had polled you guys previously, and something like over 90% of you accessed like my show via your phone, right? So very interesting. Very interesting. But, I will say this. Follow me on YouTube as well. Please do. Because TikTok, we don't know if it's going to be around in 9 months. I mean, it's very scary what's going on. So do follow me on YouTube as well if you can. Who knows if it'll pass constitutional muster? I mean, I really don't know, Dave. I don't know the constitutional law enough of it, but I also, the problem with the VPN is you need the VPN to. First of all, I'm not even sure. I don't even know if the VPN would work because I'm an American. And I think Apple knows I'm American, so I don't even know how that would work. And the VPN would have to be on full time. So you have to have the VPN on to download the program and then the VPN on every time you access it. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but this is kind of scary. Anyway, more news. Russian airbase was hit. So this is good news. I'm going to yawn at you guys today. Oh. Russian airbase was hit. New satellite imagery appears to show damage at Russia's military airbase in the Krasnodar region, eastern Russia, I believe. A source in Ukraine security and defense forces says that Kyiv launched drones against the airbase and 2 oil refineries nearby. Good news. German's public prosecutor's office has taken over probe into deaths of 2 Ukrainian servicemen who were getting treated for their wounds in Germany. And they were, I believe, walking near a grocery store or something, shopping center, and they got attacked and by a Russian citizen, I believe, wielding a knife, and he killed both of them. Now, the Russian is being held by the police. It's a little weird. This story's a little weird. It's hard to believe it's just a crazy person. Maybe it's a crazy person. Hard for me to believe it's a crazy person. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. It's also that the crazy person is so good at killing people that he was able to surprise 2 Ukrainian soldiers at the same time and attack them and kill them both. Maybe, but to me, it sounds like an assassin doing that, right? It just sounds way too well done, way too well practiced, right? But who knows? Lithuania. Actually, this is a weird story. So I've told you guys about this story before, and apparently it's just getting worse. The Russians have been jamming GPS signals in Eastern Europe. I don't have my map in front of me, but basically like Poland, going up the Baltic countries, so Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Finland. I don't know if they've been hitting Sweden as well, but Finland for sure. And they've been jamming the GPS, that the airports are using and the planes are using. And it has been causing significant problems for one of the Finnish airlines. I don't know if I've got the details here. One of the Finnish airlines I know stopped service to one of the Estonian airports after 2 Finnish aircraft were forced to turn around mid-journey in recent days because of the GPS interference. Because I guess the airport, Sweden too, Jan Thomas says, okay, Sweden too. Because apparently there were certain airports that relied like exclusively on GPS for some kind of the navigation or whatever, and the Russians have been interfering with it, and it's really weird. It's typical Russia, this kind of goofiness. They're doing it to the Baltic states because they don't like the Baltic states. The Baltic states broke free. The Russians, Russia kidnapped the Baltic countries. In essence, they held them hostage for 50 plus years, like Eastern Europe. And the Russians aren't thrilled. The Russians want them back, so they're not thrilled about that. That's the first. So they go after them. They're pissed at the Finns because Finland joined NATO last year, right? And the Russians hate that. So they're trying to basically like poke and poke and poke and poke and poke and do stuff that is short of provoking a war, but enough to be obnoxious. And that's why Russia's doing this. So it's bad. Poland, this was an interesting thing. A Ukrainian Air Force spokesperson said that Poland would be capable of protecting the skies in western Ukraine using the Patriot missile batteries that Poland has. And basically, it sounded like Ukraine is, proposing to Poland that they do this, that they basically use their Patriot missile batteries to protect western Ukraine. I'm not convinced Poland will do it. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, but I'm not convinced Poland will do it. Especially when you think that these are Russian they aren't Russian planes. These are Russian missiles that are coming in. Poland could shoot down Russian missiles without it being an act of war. A Russian plane with a pilot, that's a different story, right? But shooting down Russian missiles, they could. It's the kind of thing Russia would do, but sadly, what do you do, Final story. Oh, this was interesting. So the Czech Republic concluded, a police investigation concluded, thank you, Marsha, thank you, Jetta, concluded that a series of deadly ammunition depot explosions in the Czech Republic in 2014 were in fact carried out by Russian military intelligence. Thanks, Marsha. Thank you, Papi Chula. This is something that we all kind of knew anyway, that the Russians had done this, but the Czech police came out and said an investigation has proven it. And basically the idea is that the Russians have gone into Europe, and we knew they've done this in other countries too. They went into the Czech Republic and they blew up ammunition depots of ammunition that was destined, among other places, for Ukraine. Because back in 2014, remember, the Russians invaded the first time. But they went into a NATO country and blew up, military facilities. I mean, again, this is the sort of ballsiness of the Russians, but also I would say the, fecklessness of NATO, that we let the Russians basically declare war on us, and we kind of let them get away with it. The Russians do what they do in part, among other reasons, because we let them, because they know they can get away with it. It's the best way to stop the Russians from doing something really bad is to make clear to them that if they do something really bad, you're going to do something bad in response. And we don't do that. We don't do that nearly enough with the Russians. So anyway, that is it for the news today. Let's do our Q&A. Excuse me, I got hiccups too in addition to everything else. Let's do our Q&A. I'm going to turn my seat sideways. But yeah, I apologize. I am still exhausted, guys. I've been doing pretty well with the jet lag, but still very tired. Yes, JS Scrub, you're about to leave the building, but no, there are no biolabs. If there were U.S. biolabs in Crimea, why haven't the Russians shown us? Russia's occupied Crimea since 2014. Why haven't they shown us proof of any biolabs? He's claiming biological weapons. You know who had biological weapons in Ukraine? Russia did, when it was the Soviet Union. That's who did. Ukraine didn't. That's actually a Russian talking point. But anyway, you're leaving us. Sorry. Mods, take that person out of the room. But the airport was absolutely beautiful in Singapore. Really amazing. Oh, I see. Oh, Jake, thank you. Jake's just gifted memberships to 5 people, including some of our regulars. Thank you for that, Jake. They're still, guys, it's all they've got is lies, right? Oh, Evan, we accept dialogue. I don't accept trolls. I've actually been doing this stuff for 30 years now. Online politics for literally 30 years. I'm one of the oldest people in the world to be, in terms of experience, with managing online communities. I've been doing it since 1995 because we didn't have online. We had online communities maybe 5 years before that. And I learned early on, I'm very good at picking out bad guys. We don't allow bad guys on our podcast, on these broadcasts. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, GMA and Chris. We allow people who disagree, but we don't allow bad guys. And we just remove them. Bad guys are people who come here to basically cause trouble. If you come here and you're literally spewing fake Russian talking points, you better believe we're going to remove you. Yes. Because there isn't anybody who is serious about this issue, who really wants to legitimately discuss it with people reasonably in, intelligent adult manner, who starts spewing Russian talking points. There is 0% people who do that. So yes, we will ban them in a whatever the expression is, in a second. Yes. And it's something that also I will say, like, some people online don't, there's this weird freedom of speech movement online. And this is what Elon Musk tries to pretend like he's one of these people, where it's like, no, we shouldn't ban anybody. So except what they really mean is don't ban the trolls, don't ban the bad guys. Thank you, Marsha. Like Elon. Elon let all the Nazis come back. He let all the crazies come back, literal Nazis. He let come back to Twitter. But then he started banning journalists, right? I mean, it's like, okay. It's like, okay. Anyway. It's interesting, Frank. Frank says, why did Mike Johnson, who's the Republican Speaker of the House, suddenly start supporting aid to Ukraine after being against it? I don't know. Now, let me be a little more detailed here. Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, was never himself anti-Ukraine. Oh, you can Google it downtown. I mean, literally, I'm not going to go through all of it for you. Google it. This was a whole huge story when Elon first took over that November or so. He started banning journalists left and right, from CNN, the Washington Post. There were a couple other ones. I mean, actually, several other ones. Yeah, left and right. Just Google it. It's easier. But sorry, we're seeing what you're, Mike Johnson. The Republican Speaker of the House always supported aid to Ukraine. Always supported them. The problem is he sort of went for the, hold on a second, we're gonna have a little fun here. There we go. Bye-bye. He was sucking up to Trump. So he opposed aid to Ukraine because Trump said oppose aid to Ukraine. That was the Republican Party line, and he was willing to go along with it. Now Johnson, it's very weird. Johnson, the Republican speaker, I was reading about him about a month ago. He's a Reagan Republican. So like on Ukraine, he's super pro-Ukraine. He's super anti-Russia. He's the one. What was the quote from him? That he had some quote. Remember, he went to an event back home, a constituent event, or I think it was a fundraiser actually, and he called Putin a madman. That was the quote. He called Putin a madman. This guy is a Reagan Republican who hates the Russians and believes in America's military force defending freedom abroad, but he went along with the MAGA. So he just went along with MAGA. And so, I mean, the question is therefore, why, in other words, when I would rephrase your question in a way, why did he change his mind and be willing to bring Ukraine aid up for a vote and get it passed? Thank you, Kronos. He didn't change his mind in terms of what was in his heart. He always supported Ukraine. He always hated Russia. I mean, he admitted it. But he refused to act on it. Why was he finally willing to put Ukraine aid up for a vote and help it get passed after 6 months? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know what. Maybe it was some CIA briefing. Mike Forart says a CIA briefing. I mean, maybe it was a briefing about just how bad things were getting, because we know publicly things are very bad. Thank you, Shayla. Right? That's my guess. Is basically they said Ukraine is going to literally lose this war, and you're going to be responsible. And if you actually are a Reagan Republican who cares about Russia and cares about Ukraine and cares about Eastern, Europe and security, then maybe you better get off your butt and do something about it. And he may have finally said, okay, but damn. Well, he's lying about it being because of intelligence he received, in the sense that he always supported Ukraine and he was always anti-Russia. I say anti-Russia, but whatever, hawk on Russia. He called Putin a madman, right? But I think the briefing finally scared the hell out of him. Thank you, Chazak. Finally scared the hell out of him about how badly things were going. But who knows? What else we got, guys? I mean, that's his excuse. But then again, maybe it was a briefing in the sense that the briefing finally scared the hell out of him that he couldn't play games anymore. I don't know what NATO can do to turn the tide anymore. That's the problem. I'm not sure what else they can do. Yeah, Anchor, you are correct. Or Archon, I should say, you are absolutely correct. They're not. So I don't know what else can be done militarily. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, Callum's here with us today. He's former British military recently, and he's tied into a lot of military folks. Callum, does anybody in the military side think anything can be done for Ukraine to actually win the war? I mean, I just don't. I'm not sure at this point. I mean, unless dumping massive amounts of weapons, right? But I mean, massive, right? Massive aviation firepower. I mean, yes, long message, give you 90. Okay. Callum is going to write me a longer message on Signal that I can read to you. He thinks actually something can be done. And Callum's interesting because Callum, like I said, is British military, was there maybe 10 years, only recently left, has a lot of friends still in there. So he has access to a lot of information on this that is often very interesting, I find. So, Well, there's a question. Keith said, let them strike Russia with our weapons. That's a good point. We put restrictions on our weapons that, you can't use it to attack within Russia itself. And the Ukrainians need to attack within Russia. They need to go and attack Russian air bases. They need to attack Russian oil. We've told them not to attack Russian oil. They need to attack more Russian oil. They need to attack infrastructure, especially like railways. They need to attack more of them. They also need the German Taurus missiles as well, the cruise missiles, which they're not getting. Those would be really helpful for them to go after. And the Germans are totally freaked about that. Like, oh my God. The Germans don't want them to get them at all, let alone get them to go after, stuff within, land, territory, Russia's territory itself, like within Russia, targets inside Russia. Oh my God. The Germans don't even want them to use it for, for territory inside Ukraine, It's bad. Anyway. Oops. All right, Callum is writing me an explanation. What else, guys? And please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube. Appreciate it. I do this full time. Thank you, Anthony. I do these lives Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S. I've not been doing the last 2 weeks because I was traveling in Asia, but I normally do them Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. So do check out, feel free to join. Thank you, Dora, for the gift. Feel free to check it out. Always doing sort of just this updates on what the latest news is that day about Ukraine, what I'm hearing, try to give you a sense. Thank you, Vicky. Give you a sense from my background as a foreign policy expert, former journalist, political guy. I've worked in Washington for, 30 plus 40 years, maybe almost, I guess. Should sort of help you digest the information a little bit. I am not Ukrainian. I am a Greek American. But I care about it because I have a long history of studying Russia. And I'm fully aware of what the Russians can do. And therefore feel it is important to help Ukraine because I am intimately aware of what happens when you let Russia win wars in Europe, among other places. Thank you, Vicky. Okay, Callum has messaged me about what we can do, what we could provide. He says, long story short, aviation firepower would be a massive help. An attitude change from Americans to allow Ukraine to attack inside Russia like the rest of Europe is doing would help. That's the point you were making over on TikTok. Greater air defense. The draft increase also. So greater air defenses, Ukraine increasing the draft, the mobilization of its own men, which we've talked about, which they're not really doing. Ukraine is making a massive amount of drones. They need a big push first with drones, then a large armored push using mechanized infantry battalions and tanks backed up with air superiority. They basically need us to stop effing around. Well, and the air superiority, for air superiority, they're going to need, do they not need a lot of F-16s and B, a lot of other planes too? We've talked about this before. Thank you for the rose there, Tarad. For example, we talked about A-10s, F-16s mainly. You think that's enough to get air superiority? How many F-16s would Ukraine need? Well, that's been my concern. Eli Menopi, Joe, can't fight half a war. That's my concern. I think we've been fighting half a war. Again, I think Trump would have fought like a zero war. Trump has said he would have cut off all aid to Ukraine. So Trump wouldn't have fought the war at all. Thank you, Fred, and Ukraine would have lost. But Biden's fighting half a war. Biden's, tied his own hand behind his back as did the French and the Germans, and we wanted to give Ukraine just enough to not lose, but not enough to win. Well, that doesn't help. 50 to 75. Darth agrees with you. 60. 50 to 75. Okay, that's not a crazy name. IMNOP. Oh, is that that's funny. I didn't see. Is that what the joke is? No, it says Eli Menopi. Eli. It says Eli. Elemento-P. Oh, Elemento-P. Okay, it is Elemento-P. Okay, there you go. I get it now. That's cute. Elemento-P. Got it. It read like it was Greek though. Elemento-P. Sweden is convinced it's going to get attacked by Russia. Well, Sweden has a reason to be worried, although Sweden joining NATO has made it a lot safer. I don't think I can say three things I like about Trump or respect about him. I don't think I really can. Again, some people are just bad people. He tried to violently overthrow paying sleeping with a porn star right after your child is born. You then go and have an affair. A. B. You do it with a porn star. I just find that particularly gross. And I know people on the left don't like us to judge. I'm going to judge. You had an affair, first of all, and you chose a porn star. That's gross, okay? That's doubly gross in terms of, I think, putting your wife's safety into question, right? It's also just gross. You did it right after your baby was born. It was right after Barron was born. That's gross. Then you turned around and you paid the porn star $130,000 in hush money. That's gross. Just on the porn star thing, it's gross. We could talk about Trump for the next 3 hours about gross things he's done. That's gross. COVID, gross. He put millions of people's lives at risk by not taking COVID seriously. He put all of our lives at risk. I couldn't see my 90-year-old mother for a year and a half because of the way that man screwed up COVID. How am I supposed to find good things to say about that, right? He tried to violently overthrow the government. How am I supposed to find good things to say about that? He's still lying about the election, and by lying about the election is risking more violence because his words have led to violence before. How am I supposed to... Injecting the bleach. And actually, and I love this. He didn't say inject bleach. He said inject disinfectant. Okay. He talked about, injecting disinfectant to cure COVID. The man is... I've got to be careful what I say because our overlords, you folks, our overlords get very censorious, and they ban people for criticizing the Donald and telling the truth. But I'm not going to say anything nice about him. No, he crossed the line. He's not Nikki Haley. You sound just like him. Other than trying to kill millions of people with COVID, other than trying to violently overthrow the government, other than sleeping with a porn star and cheating on my spouse. Yeah. Other than trying to take away a woman's right to choose, other than trying to literally repeal Obamacare. He tried to take away health care from millions of Americans, including me. Thank you. Yeah, other than that, I'm just like him. Bye. Anyway, enough about Trump. No, the list goes on forever and ever and ever. At this point, if you support Trump, you've got a problem. In my view. You just got a problem. There's something wrong, And let's see if our overlords get upset about that. But anyway, let's go back to Ukraine, guys. Enough of that man. No, he's disgusting. That's interesting. Does the Russian aggression and NATO reactions remind you of the pre-World War II buildup? I don't know about a pre-World War II buildup. I would say I'm not enough of a student of history to be able to comment on World War II. You know what I mean? About saying, like, what were the Allies doing? What were the European governments doing? It absolutely reminds me of the Cold War. That I am a student of, right? I mean, I studied, that was my graduate degree. I got a law degree, but I also got a master's in foreign service at Georgetown, which is in international public policy, really. And my major focus was on Soviet foreign policy. And Russia reminds me of the Soviet Union, big time. This reminds me of the Cold War, big time. Hey, Jens, thank you. Signing up as a member, or maybe a member again. I'm going to guess. I remember you signing up. Maybe it was on TikTok. I remember you signing up already as a member somewhere. Oh, yeah, and you bought the gifts for everybody too. But anyway, thank you, Jens, for that. Yeah, because of course you're a member because you already joined me this weekend on TikTok. I mean, on Discord. Yeah, I know. I knew you were a member. But thank you for that. What were we saying, guys? I'm forgetting what we were saying. Oh, yeah, as far as what it reminds me of. But it absolutely reminds me of the Cold War. The Cold War. Absolutely. Thank you, Dora. That for sure, what's going on now. And again, the Russians are the bad guys again, sadly. Thank you, Love My. Appreciate that. Class Bravo, thank you for subscribing on TikTok. Keep the subscriptions coming, guys. TikTok and YouTube. Subscribing basically means you promise to, pay a subscription amount each month. It's not very much. It's like $5.99 or $6.99 or something. There's several categories on you. Actually, TikTok may have just allowed me, thank you, Vicky, to set up multiple categories. We'll see. I may. I'm not sure what to give with more categories. That's the only problem. But nonetheless, maybe it's just, knowing you're supporting me more, which thank you for that. Yeah, any case, I think we're back to the Cold War again, unfortunately. I think we are. How long before Putin invades another country? I mean, the question there is, Russia needs several years to sort of build up again. The only thing is, we're seeing from the NATO folks, a lot of NATO countries, NATO experts are saying, like my hair, are saying it may take the Russians 3 years. the Russian invasion isn't imminent, but it might be in 3 to 5 years of another NATO country, so that basically Russia could build up again in that period of time. So yes, I can see them doing it, but it may take a while. I didn't see. Are there protesters at Georgetown? I'm not surprised, Mick, but because they're everywhere. But whatever. I mean, students protest. That's what they do. And I think basically the student protesters don't know what they're protesting for. Most of them, it's being organized by some very bad people, and I think a lot of good people at the campuses, they care. They hear people are dying and they care, which is nice. But they don't really know what's going on. And they're going along with the masses saying this is bad protest, so they're protesting. But the people organizing it are those Students for Justice in Palestine, who are crazy people, absolute crazy people who are supportive, of terrorists themselves. So I'm not a big fan of these folks, but I think you know that. Would Trump losing a close election worry you? Less than Trump winning a close election. Trump's going to claim he lost. Look, this is the problem. Last time he tried to violently overthrow the government, he's going to do it again. If the election's close, he's going to do it again. Even if it's not close, he's going to do it again. At this point, again, I feel like at this point, let's take the man at his word. We know who he is. Let's not believe, and I don't think any of us believe he's going to be any different, right, with the election. By the way, thank you, Frank Thomas. I don't know if that was just a gift. If it was, thank you. I wasn't sure if you had a question, but thank you for that. But yeah, I think he's going to do the same thing all over again. He's going to try different games this time. It may not be the election. Remember the elector sort of fraud thing that he was doing? He's going to try something else. But also the danger is, this is actually the real danger. Thanks, Tarad. The real danger is that Trump, and I've talked about this before, and I don't know if this will pass TikTok censors, so we'll be careful for our overlords. But when you tell people in a democracy, I was trying to explain this to the folks in Singapore, when you tell people in a democracy that the election was stolen, that the other guy actually won the presidency, okay? The other guy won the presidency, and they literally swore in the wrong guy. Those are fighting words. Those aren't just words you go to court over. I mean, if here's the thing. If we know that the other party stole the election, and we know that the other party has been able to somehow convince all of Washington to agree to make that stolen election guy president, even though everybody knows that he didn't win, then we no longer have democracy in our country. And I think the response to that, it could be very violent, because we're not talking about, losing an election legally. We're talking about literally a coup d'etat, right? Trump knows that. He is, by claiming that he won the election and they put the wrong man in power, and by claiming it's going to happen again, and if Trump loses, he is going to claim it again, you are claiming things that I think will lead to violence, and I think naturally would lead to violence. I wouldn't be surprised if they led to violence, because a coup d'etat in our country, of course, in any Western democracy, right? I mean, does anybody think in their country, if there were literally a coup d'etat, that people wouldn't rise up violently to stop it, right? I mean, and that's the danger of what Trump is doing. He's lying to people, in essence, to convince them to become violent. He's telling them something that's a lie, but were it true, it would understandably cause people to rise up violently. I mean, do you get how dangerous it is? That's what worries me so much with what he's doing. What's the outcome? Violence? I mean, literally, violence is the outcome. Yeah. I mean, if he were in office, he wouldn't have left. He would not have left if he were able to pull it off. No, it's very bad. It's really bad. We did, and we did see it on January 6th. Exactly. Yeah. We saw it on January 6th. I mean, for anybody who says, "Oh, it won't happen," he tried. Well, of course, this is why they tried to deny January 6th as well. Anyway, well, that's an interesting question, Timothy. Yeah, I mean, I've had friends point that out to me too, saying at least currently the military is run by the good guys. So that's the good thing. It's harder for Trump to pull this off against a Democratic president. It's easier for Trump to pull it off when he's not in power. You know. Anyway, what else we got, guys? What else we got? Just looking here. What else we got, guys? I'm looking at your comments, but I'm trying to find anything that's worth. How does this war end? I don't know. We've talked about that. I thank you, user 336. The problem is that the war in Ukraine could end with a negotiated settlement, but it's a negotiation that will simply set Russia up to invade again in a few years. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, user. That's the problem. I mean, you end up, let's pretend like right now, you freeze the war where it is, and you let Russia keep all the territory it's got, and you say Ukraine, whatever. Well, what's to stop Russia from building up their forces again? Hey, Luis. Sorry. Doesn't always notify people, unfortunately, but good to see you. What's to stop Russia from just invading again in 3 to 5 years or 8 years when it builds its military back up? The Russians have already said they want all of Ukraine. What's to stop from doing it? Nothing. So that's the big concern. I mean, that's the big concern. I'm not sure what you're referring to, WC. Misha is in Ohio. Okay. Maybe you're telling somebody else that, because I don't know why I care. I may be missing something. I'm very glad he's in Ohio. Congratulations, but I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, Russia invading Moldova. They may. Yeah, they may. They may not be able to do it for a while, though. Right? But they might do it after Ukraine. Yeah. Oh, move from Russia to... Wait, our Misha is in Ohio? Wait a minute, that's our Misha? That's what you mean. Misha, you moved to Ohio? Did you move or are you visiting? Sorry, this is very interesting. This Russian guy who's been visiting us a lot on YouTube is in Ohio, but I don't know if he... Did he move? Or are you visiting? You moved. Well, okay, I asked both, though. You said yes. I asked you 2 questions. Which one? You moved there. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's wild. How did you manage that? How'd you get the visa? I would imagine right now it would be a little difficult for Russians to get visas to move. No one visits Ohio. Well, I remember him talking about going to Ohio, and I kept thinking that he's visiting Ohio. Like, why is a Russian visiting Ohio? It just always seemed a bit funny. Wow, going to apply for citizenship. Good for you. Okay. Well, I'm glad I trusted that you were a good Russian. No, Misha's wife's family lives here. Wow. That's wild. Now, is your wife Russian as well, or is your wife American? Or something else, if their family lives here. Wow. That's wild. Yeah, so Misha was this Russian that's been on YouTube. We broadcast on YouTube at the same time. Our YouTube broadcast at the same time. And at first we were a little worried about him because it's like a Rush. He's like, "Hi, I'm in Russia." We're like, "Okay." Are you a good witch or a bad witch? But was very nice and, just very nice and polite in the conversations. And to go back to what that person asked earlier on TikTok, we were even fine having a Russian in the conversation if he was nice, if he wasn't being rude. So I don't mind people disagreeing with us as long as they're not rude. And he wasn't. He was very nice. But he moved to Ohio. That's funny. Your wife's American. Oh, how fascinating. Wow. Very interesting. Well, good for you. Wow, Ohio. Ohio's not bad. I mean, I like bigger cities, but Ohio's, nice, Midwestern, nice. I'm Midwestern, so I like that. Wow. Well, that's very cool. I'm wondering, like, who's this Misha person you're saying and why he's in Ohio? I'm like, why do we care? It's our Misha. Wow. Well, that's very cool. Okay. I'm very excited now. That's great news. Wow. How neat. Very neat. Chase, you figured this account was exactly like, who is this person? Anyway. Ooh, thank you for the gift, Jen. What else, guys? We'll go a little bit longer and then we'll call it quits. We're already at 15 after the hour. I told you I'm still jet lagging, but not jet lagging. Like my sleep is okay. It is jet lagging though. My sleep is okay at night, but during the day I'm still really zonked and tired. But at least I'm sleeping well, and I'm intentionally not taking naps. So I'm trying to. I just got back from Asia, and are my arms tired? Anyway, what else we got, guys? End it here. A couple more questions, maybe your comments. Oh, sorry. Terry was saying, can you ask Vlad why Ukraine isn't building new and improved Russian fighter jets? They must have the ability and know-how. That's an interesting question. That's a good, interesting question. I don't know. I don't know how hard it is. You know? I don't know. Callum? There's a good question. Why is, I mean, Callum's British, but still British military. Why hasn't Ukraine like built new and improved MiGs and stuff? Not easy, Callum says. Okay. So it's not the kind of thing even a country that's so sort of precocious as Ukraine could necessarily pull off. Interesting. Okay. Check out my Twitter. Oh. I shall. Leaked Russian nuclear policy? I didn't see any new leak. I mean, we know the Russian nuclear policy. Did it disagree with what we already know? I mean, we already know Russian nuclear policy. It's like 4 different things, you know? But I don't know like what the latest is, you know? Okay, well, I am checking my Twitter. I have no idea what you're referring to. No, you got to tell me. I mean, I have 100,000 Twitter followers, so you got to tell me more. Oh, the article for aid to Ukraine. Okay, but I'm still not sure. I have no. Is it a mention? No, I've got no mentions in the last 7 hours. I'm not sure what you're talking. My latest. Okay, you got to give me more words. This is one of my pet peeves. I'm like, buy a vowel. You got to give me more words. I don't know what you're talking. Oh, there's a reply. I just don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what article you're talking about. I don't know anything what you're talking about. Sorry. Thank you, Louise. I have no idea what tweet, what response, what anything. The latest post is about a fake picture. About a fake picture of white people is my latest post. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't... Okay, I'm sorry, but you may be a foreigner. Are you not American? Like, no offense, but I don't know what you're... There are no... in the comments, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. You've got to tell me more. You're giving me too few words. Start at the beginning like I'm a crazy person or a very stupid. You're saying somebody responded something in my first post? Thank you, Crystals. And my first post on Twitter is the one that says zoom in. I have no... Oh, countries that have committed the most aid to Ukraine. Oh! Okay, sorry, I got you. Okay. Sorry, I was like not understanding what... I was like, why are you talking about a picture of the religious right people? Okay. Now, mind you, this is from U.S. News, which, you know, used to be a good news source. Now, but let me see here. Majority of committed support... Let me see, when was this? Oh, February 23rd. This is recent. Okay. 2 months ago. Majority... Oh, here we go. Now, interesting. It's claiming France's... Now, that's... Okay, this is interesting. This article claims France is number 3 when you take in EU commitments. I don't know. That's very interesting. I don't know. That's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I do not understand the EU stuff. So it's claiming France has not given much itself, but share of EU commitments is a lot. I don't understand how the EU commitment thing goes, but by that ranking, France is number 3. I have no idea. EU folks, is there any reason this wouldn't be true? That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting, Morty. I'll give you that. Fair enough. I don't know. That's very interesting. I'd like somebody that could actually explain how the EU commitment thing works. It's money you give to the European Union, like your share, but then do you get to decide where that money goes or something? Or, you know what I mean? That's what I'm not understanding. I mean, this is showing US, Germany, France, UK, Netherlands, Italy, Spain. Actually, that's good for Italy and Spain. That's interesting, too. That's interesting. Well, that's better because it makes Italy and Spain much better, too, than we thought. Even Austria is a little better. Interesting. Oh, that's the stuff Hungary's been vetoing. Oh, okay. But do the individual countries control that? I would have thought like you give the money as your share to the EU and then the EU spends it. You know what I mean? So I'm not quite sure I like this, right? If it's money that you just already gave to the EU and then the EU decides how to spend it, I don't know if that counts as you giving the money. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe. I don't want to be too negative on this, but that's what I thought. That's what I thought. It's money, yeah. It's money you give to the EU, and then the EU collectively says we've got a big pool of money. So I mean, I don't know if I buy that should count as France's commitment to Ukraine. I'm even for Germany the same thing. I'm not sure I buy that. Yeah, but it's like a fund, but that isn't you spending money on Ukraine. That's your annual commitment to the EU. And the EU decided to spend the money. I don't know. I mean, the EU gets credit, although having said that, it is money from the individual countries. So, I mean, they wouldn't have gotten the money if France didn't give it to them. No, I understand how it works. It's like U.S. taxes, except the taxes, it's like the United Nations, frankly. At least the core building of the United Nations, where each of us have to pay a certain amount of money in. But it's not money you gave specifically for Ukraine to the EU. Isn't it just your annual share that you're supposed to give? The annual percentage you're supposed to give? No, I know that, Dwayne. Yep. You know what I mean? Like it's the money you have to give every year anyway to the EU, and then the EU collectively decides what to do with the pool of money. But France gives more because France's economy is bigger, so it gives more than a lot of countries. Yeah, I'm divided on it. It's directly for Ukraine. So France gave money to the EU earmarked for Ukraine? Is that true? I mean, oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Well, Callum, that's what they're saying. I thought it was money like just the annual allotment to the EU that you all have to give anyway. See, you guys are disagreeing because Jeremy is saying what I was thinking, that it's just the annual percentage you got to give. Morty and several others are saying that no, it's money given exclusively for Ukraine. I don't know. I am not sure I understand it. Oh, thank you, Jake. I see you gave a gift. Who did it go to? Jennifer. Lovely. Thank you for the gift membership. I did check my text. There was nothing new from Talum there. Yeah, I know. It's given based on the size, but it's not. Yeah. I know. I already saw it. It's not disagree. It's apart from Ukraine support. The EU budget does not pool money for Ukraine. I don't know. Thank you, Jake. Again, another gift. This one went to Jason. Excellent. I'm very confused here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very confused here. I don't know. All right. Nonetheless, it's worth considering whether that counts. Because, it is true that if France gives more than a lot of countries, then France has contributed more of the money that's gone to Ukraine. That's not untrue. They gave money exclusively for Ukraine. That's what he's saying here. That's what he's saying. Let me see here. Hang on a second. Did France give money exclusively for Ukraine to EU? I'm never going to find an answer on this, though, probably. Let me see here. Let me just see here. Let's see. Hmm. Just looking here. Okay, still not getting a straight answer here online about this, which I'm not surprised. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I can't get a straight answer here. Okay, any case. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the gift there. We will have to keep checking it out. All right, guys. You know what? It's 6:23. I think let's call it quits because, as I said, I'm still kind of getting over my jet lag here. But thank you for joining tonight, guys. Thank you for the gifts. Google search. Well, Google search is also hard when something like this, where it's like, how do you Google words like France, EU, Ukraine aid? It's hard to get. It's hard for that to break down to exactly what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Thank you, Luis. I went to Singapore and Indonesia. My nephew was getting married to a girl from Singapore in Indonesia where they met. So I was there for 2 weeks. Very nice trip. I'm very tired. So I got back Friday night. Now that's very funny. You said that past funny to Bali. The flight attendants were telling me there's actually some movie with George Clooney and what's her face? What's her name? From Pretty Woman. That there's a movie of them that's kind of this idea of getting married in Bali. All the flight attendants were telling me it was very funny. They found it something to paradise, to happiness, or some plane to paradise, something like that. I forget. It's Julia Roberts. Yeah, no, Julia Roberts. Yeah. But I'm forgetting what it was called. But they showed me it's an actual movie that's like based on the concept of them getting married in Bali. So it was very neat though. Traditional Balinese wedding, very cool, very cool. So it was very neat. Anyway, I'm almost done. Yes. All right. I'm visiting mom. Mom wants to know if we're done. All right, guys. Let me get going here. Thank you, guys. I'll be back. Ticket to Paradise. I remember it was something to something. I remember. Yeah. Ticket to Paradise. All right, guys. Let me get going here. I will see you all tomorrow, Tuesday. It's 6 o'clock Eastern time, U.S. I'm here for another week and a half in Chicago, and then I'm back to D.C. So, all right. And next Saturday, I'm doing another show. I'm not gonna do a recap because I'm too tired, Jacob. And I gotta go eat. But next Saturday we do have our weekly hangout for the paid subscribers. So that's Saturday I'm gonna do it at 11 a.m. Central, so at noon Eastern, so I can actually get up a little later. So we'll do it at noon Eastern time US this coming Saturday on TikTok and YouTube and Discord. So just keep that in mind. They are very well. Thank you, Tom. And I don't know what's up for dinner. I'm going to find out shortly. But otherwise, talk to you guys tomorrow. All right? Let me do a quick good night. Oh, my God, I'm tired. Although, if you're in Poland, you should be more tired than me, Mick. So, all right, guys, have a good night. All right, thank you. Good night, good night, good night. Let me find this here. I really am tired. Man, hopefully the next day or two I'll be getting over being tired.